Ever wondered how to get that warm and grainy cinematic film looks in your images without actually shooting film? In today's video, I'll show you how to achieve it in Adobe Lightroom with just a few simple tweaks. And as always, you can download the raw files for free, first link in the description, so you can follow along step by step. But remember, there are many film stocks you can emulate, as long as you know the characteristics of them. I will just show you a way of achieving an overall film feel without emulating a specific one, so let's dive in. Okay, we are in Lightroom right now, and these are the two images that we are working with. And I'm gonna start with this first one here. Before I'm gonna make any changes, I'm gonna crop it as always. I'm gonna go with a 16:9 ratio. And as I told you, I'm not gonna do a specific film stock. Some film stocks are warmer, softer, grainier, greenish or bluish. And I'm gonna lean more towards the warmer and soft contrast type of look, which is a Kodak Portra 400. And with that, I'm gonna instantly decrease the contrast. It has some sort of a soft highlight roll off, pretty good details in the highlights. That means I'm gonna put -22 on the highlights, on the whites as well. I'm gonna up the shadows and up the blacks. Okay, before and after, it looks really soft. I'm gonna decrease the highlights and whites even more, up the shadows and the blacks. Before and after. Now it looks really soft, but I'm gonna soften it up even more by decreasing the clarity and adding a bit of dehaze, just a tiny bit. Before and after. Okay, that looks pretty soft for me. Now for the tone curve, because I have opened up the shadows and the blacks a bunch in the basic tab, I'm gonna crush them here by dragging this slider somewhere around here. And you can see on this histogram here, that's how I opened up the image with the shadows and blacks. So I'm gonna go around here, and with the brightest parts, I'm gonna decrease them even more, but then with the midtones, I'm gonna get all the highlights and the details back. And before and after, I normally don't touch the color mixer because the color grading tab will pull out all the warmth, but in this case, I'm gonna pull down a bit of the blues because of the blue jeans here, around -21-ish, and the aquas as well. And now the most important thing here is the color grading tab, because here, if I open it up, we can change the midtones, shadows and highlights and add a specific color to it. And since the Portra 400, or the type of film stock we're gonna emulate, is more warm, we're gonna add some warmth to it. So as I can tell, the shadows have a purple tint to them. I could easily go into the basics and play with the tint here, but since I'm gonna use it as a preset, I don't wanna mess with the tint, temp and the exposure. So I'm gonna do that with the color grading tab, go down to the shadows, and since the purples lay here, I'm gonna go the total opposite towards the yellow greens, and I'm gonna go full ham real quick, and then I'm gonna dial it back just a tiny bit. Saturation, let's say 5. And now I'm gonna go to the global color wheel, and with the global, I'm just gonna go with a warm feel around here, and I'm gonna pull down the saturation again, and I'm gonna leave it somewhere around 27 looks good. Let's do a before and after. Now I could go back to the basic, and I'm gonna play with the highlights and the whites. So I have a bunch of details here. I want it to be more orangey warm. So I'm gonna go back to the color grade, increase the saturation, and put it somewhere around here and decrease it again. Okay, and for the skin tones, because the skin tones are in the mid-tones, I'm gonna add even more, let's say yellowish orange, just a tiny bit here, around saturation 6. And only the color grading tab, before and after, huge difference. And now to separate the subject from the background, this is personal preference because I love to use masks, so I'm gonna use a mask here, click on subject. Now I'm gonna invert it, it did a pretty good job here. and I'm gonna right click on it, intersect it with a linear gradient. I'm gonna darken up the road here, not that much. And I'm gonna duplicate this mask here because I want the background again. And the linear gradient, I'm gonna reset it and I'm gonna place it here because of the hairline. I know the sun is hitting from the left side. So I'm gonna feather it out a bunch, decrease the contrast, up the exposure, down with the dehaze, and add a bit more warmth with the temperature slider. And now I'm gonna add another subject mask and I'm gonna decrease the contrast even more. So it's a bit, it's a bit more softer and the shadows will come out even more here. And now since I have lots of room here in the highlights, if I'm looking at my histogram, I can even up the whites here. Not that much, just a tiny bit. And now the before and after. Perfect. And now all that's left is to add some grain. We're gonna do that easily on the effects tab here. And the grain, I usually leave the roughness at 50, the size around 25 or 30. I'm gonna do 28. And the amount, I'm gonna do something, let's say I want a grainy image, so I'm gonna do like 40. Okay, before and let's zoom in real quick here. Before and after, maybe a bit too much grain, so I'm gonna dial it back. And now let's say I have 10 images of this shoot here, which I want to have the same feel to them. That means I'm gonna create a preset, and for that I'm gonna go to the preset tab here, press on the plus sign, add new preset, create preset, and now I'm gonna check all just for you to see. Everything is checked here, but as I told you earlier, I'm not gonna mess with the white balance and the exposure. That's what we can do after we applied the preset, so I don't want that in the preset. And I don't want the masks in the preset. And with that unclicked, I'm gonna name this preset Warmer Days. You can name it whatever you want. And I could put it into my already existing film presets group or create a new group. I'm gonna put it in the film presets group. Let's create. And now on the left side, I'm gonna look for my film presets. These are all of my film presets here that I have created. And I'm gonna look for the Warmer Days, here it is. And now we're gonna go to this image here that we want to edit, and I'm gonna apply this preset here. And this image overall lays on the darker side, and it's not because of the preset, it is because of how I have shot it in the first place. So if I'm gonna reset everything, you can see it is already pretty dark. So that means after applying, I have to adjust, and that's why I didn't choose the exposure for the preset, because every image is different. So I'm gonna up the exposure here, and as I do that, you can see I'm opening up all the blacks again. I want more details in the whites. That means I can either get my highlights down and the whites here, or I'm gonna go to the tone curve and do something like that. All we have to do left is to add some masks. Of course, personal preference, but I do love to create some masks. And that means I'm gonna hit the subject mask again, and I'm gonna invert it, right click on it. The same as we did earlier, I'm gonna add a linear gradient to this mask, down the contrast, up the exposure, down the dehaze, and warm it up a bit. I'm gonna right click on it, duplicate this mask, and I'm gonna go to this linear gradient that I have added, reset everything by double clicking on the text, and I'm gonna place it here, down the exposure a bit. And now I'm gonna create the select people mask, so it will select all the features of the person. And I just want the face here, and I'm gonna zoom in. Now I want to soften the face by decreasing the clarity here. Perfect. And now another subject mask, and I'm gonna down the contrast to open it up a bit more. And I don't know if you can see, but I see a bit of purple tint in the car here. And for that, I'm gonna go to the color grade and the highlights. And as I did earlier with the shadows here, I'm gonna pull them towards the greenish yellow side and add just a bit of saturation. That should do. Yes, I can't see any purple anymore. Perfect. Now we can just crop it. We can do 4:5 or 16:9 again. Let's do 16:9. That's our image. Before, pretty dark, and after we have softened it up, warmed it up, and there's a bunch of information in the shadows and in the highlights as well. I hope this video helps with your future film looks and shortens the editing time with the new preset we just created. Make sure to leave a like, but most importantly, take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next video.